Hello everybody, and welcome to another Hearthstone video. So today we're going to be dealing with the my new Druid ramp deck. It's been really effective. So you can see I don't have a whole lot of wins with the Druid, I mean about 30. For the record, for context, I essentially started with about 10 wins on the Druid, and then this season I came in with this new deck, starting at about rank 17, and in basically no wins. I mean it was a win streak basically the entire way. I've been up to rank 10. So let's get right into it and see how this goes.
Malfurion versus Valera.
Okay, so here we are against a rogue.
I must protect the wild.
Rogues are a bit of a toss-up. We're going to get rid of all of this. I'm tempted to keep the Yeti, but I think we're going to get rid of it for a faster start. Especially going first. Yeah, okay, so we can either innervate out the Harvest Golem, or we can be more conservative and innervate out the Yeti.
The
yeah,
pleasure is mine.
My greetings.
I think we will innervate out the Yeti on the second turn. Yep, perfect. Yeah, so I mean, rogues are a bit of a toss-up. They can, depending on the build, if you get behind, essentially, if you don't have a good fast start, they can overtake you. That said, if you have a fast start, and if you get some taunts up, usually they can't do very much, especially if it's a Miracle Rogue. This deck has so many taunts that the Leroy combo is not very effective against it, as long as you're very careful about it. And you make sure that you always have taunts up whenever you can. Having the Mark of Wild is very valuable here. Okay, so we're going to coin out a
This is our
Defias Ringleader, okay?
Yeah.
So just going for the combo points here. So Harvest Golem is what I was thinking. Wild Growth is very tempting though. It makes us have 5 mana next turn, which can put out the Harvest Golem and a Mark of the Wild. The problem is it's not efficient. Next turn I could Hero Power and Wild Growth, or Mark of the Wild Growth, and I then could do a Sunwalker the following turn. So I think that it has to be this way. Now, I think rogues are not good at buffing. They are good at removal, but I think that rather than give her a free backstab, we're going to take out her Defias Ringleaders here. Now, she can take this out with her Ringleader and the daggers, but nonetheless, I think that that was the right choice. Usually you do want to control the rogue's board at least a little bit, but you also want to take care of your creatures and make sure that you have a board. Against a rogue, it's much more important to maintain your own board presence than hers. So here we're going to Mark the Wild and Wild Growth. Next turn, quite obviously, we will Sunwalker unless something else comes up that's 4 mana, answers something she does, and goes well with the Hero Power.
Shields up.
Okay, a Naked Sun Fury Protector to combo with the Eviscerate to kill it. Okay, so we're going to Sunwalker. Next turn is going to be more cards, and that will put us into a very nice place going into the late game. Yep, so we're going to do exactly what we said. Honorable mention play is potentially killing this and then Earthen Ring Farseering, just to bring it back up to health, but we're going to... we're not so sad if we lose the Sunwalker because we have another one.
Justice shall prevail.
And we're quite conscious about rogues having Azure Drakes on the table because it allows her to do very scary things with her spells. Okay. That's only for the combo, I'm sure. Yep. Okay, so if we hadn't taken out the Drake, that would have died. So I think the right play here is going to be the Azure Drake and healing this with the Earthen Ring Farseer to get the free trade. Now, the other option is the Wrath that just popped up. The unfortunate part is that there's no good way of using it. So we are going to do this trade. When I said no good way, it would be mana, or it'd be damage inefficient either way, and I had no good way to do one more damage to get the card. I certainly would have used my hero power if I could have. Okay, so we don't quite win. If we hit for 5 here, it'll be down to 9, which means I can take her down to 1 effectively. And you know, maybe that's the right thing to do. I have so much to back this up, I think we will put her into a state of duress here. We're very much in command, and this will just knock it home. Now a hero power will do it, and we have a lot we can do.
Well played.
Well played.
Perfect. So that was a very commanding game. We took no damage the entire time. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, so we got a good fast start against the road there. That's sort of your ideal game.
Malfurion versus Gul'dan.
Okay, so we have a Warlock here.
Shall be mine. I must protect the wild.
So we're going to get rid of these two. We don't know what sort of Warlock he is, but the Harvest Golem is just a good card to keep no matter what. And this isn't a bad hand. Having the 2 damage that we can do, or the silence, is nice. If he's a Handlock, we'll wait to play with the silence for big taunts. And if he's a Rush Lock, then obviously we can rush with it. So next turn is going to be Wild Growth, and then we're going to do the Chillwind Yeti as opposed to the Harvest Golem.
The light protects me.
Okay, so that seems to me to be a Zoolock.
For the crusade!
Oh wow. We have Divine Shield synergy going on. So we could do damage or silence either of them, but I think that the Yeti's the better choice.
Job done.
The Druid with the Claw will be coming down next turn. Okay, we're gonna take out the Yeti apparently. Or no, well yeah, we'll just trade the minion. Or he's gonna rush my face. No, okay. That's fine. The cool thing about this deck is that usually if they take out something big, it doesn't really matter to us. We have a lot of big stuff. We have a lot of big stuff. And so, taking out one thing, like using a Power Overwhelming to take out a Yeti, is actually not something that scares us very hard. Yeah, and so in this case, for instance, we're actually going to silence. I mean, it doesn't matter. The damage would do the same thing. Hero power to kill it. And we'll go about our merry way. Next turn we can do a couple of things. Wild Growth is one thing that we could do with the Azure Drake. The Azure Drake may be a strong pick, no matter what. Okay, gonna clear out the board here. This is an interesting Warlock. He just threw out a Sunwalker, as you saw. Okay, yeah, so we're certainly going to... yeah, I think we are going to use the... we're going to use Wrath here, and there's a question as to whether or not we're going to kill the Yeti or the Iron Dwarf. We can do both. I think we're going to... Either way, the Azure Drake dies. So I think we're actually going to take out the one with more health. Especially because we have card draw in the hand. I do like the card draw quite a bit, but on the off chance he finds some way to kill this without either of his minions, I would like just the one life to be left.
Dingo! Yes.
This seems to be trying to be a sort of a controlling mid-game Warlock, which is something that I've never really seen. So we can put out the Ancient of Lore for the cards, and we can then innervate out the Harvest Golem, which I think is actually not a terrible idea, especially because Innervate, it's getting to the point in the game where Innervate is not going to be very useful. So we're going to draw cards here. And yet, we are going to Innervate at the Harvest Golem. Next turn is an obvious defender of Argus if he doesn't take this out.
My shield for Argus!
Sort of like that. Now, we could also put down Ysera. And in the current board position, where I'm going to clean everything up, it's not a bad plan, but I think that it's better to use the defender here.
My shield for Argus!
And what we'll do is we can silence. We can silence something. Both of these will evenly trade now. If we silence the ooze, though, it's probably best. I mean, we can efficiently trade for either of these, but we will more efficiently trade if we silence the ooze.
I must safeguard the land.
If he doesn't magically clean my board here, Ysera is certainly what we'll do. Okay. I still think Ysera is what we're going to do. I'm happy enough with this board.
I dream and the world trembles.
And I'm not afraid of the Harvest Golem, so we're actually going to rush for damage. Next turn will be a Sunwalker. Great. Dream is a wonderful removal spell, especially against a Warlock. We don't know what he has. He may well have Molten Giants. Ha! That's funny. This is a very weird Warlock. Okay, so I think the Sunwalker is the right choice, because this turn on the table we have 6-10. We have 10 damage. We can do. We can give ourselves another 1 to make it down to 3, so we can't ever Hellfire. Yep. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to Dream her back to the hand. We will Wild Growth for the card. Nope. And he won't even let us. Okay. So I think that was fairly effective. Although I must say. That was a very strange... It must have been like an experimental Warlock deck, so... but either way, it's a victory, and it's a win streak.
Malfurion versus Gul'dan.
Okay, so we have another Warlock here, and we
I must protect the wild.
are up against a rank 6 for some reason. Not that that really matters. So we're going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of the Azure... Wow, I can't speak today. We're going to get rid of the Azure Drake as well, but we're going to keep the Druid of the Claw and the Innervate, just because that's a nice early game combo if he's aggressive. And you know, that's actually a pretty great starting hand. In this circumstance, and in any circumstance, it is absolutely permissible, and in fact, I would say encouraged, to coin Wild Growth. In basically every circumstance. Because next turn we can Innervate out the Druid of the Claw. Okay, this is a Handlock. So, the Druid of the Claw will be nice, but also not imperative. We could have made him into the charge there and made him into a 5/5 next turn, and maybe that would have been the better option, especially given how he's so, he seems to be so, he's sitting back here. So we're gonna wait for the Twilight Drake to come down before we play the Keeper of the Grove. I don't like being inefficient here, but I think we're gonna put up the Harvest Golem. Okay, so that's just great. We're gonna silence him and trade into the Harvest Golem.
I must safeguard the land.
Handlocks are happily very predictable. That was going to be a Twilight Drake or a Mountain Giant, and this could be either as well. Yep, Mountain Giant. So, we can use the Defender of Argus here. We could also put down a Sunwalker and just sort of keep on hitting him in the head, in the face. I'm not so opposed to that plan, outside of the fact that he may well taunt this up next turn. We could also trade both of our little guys, and swipe him. I think, though, I'm going to be a bit riskier and play the Sunwalker. No, you know, I say that, I think we will actually do this. We're gonna trade him, and the reason we're gonna trade is because we will put him down now into a range where he can easily put out Molten Giants, and so I would like to be careful about how far down we get him. At this point now, it's going to be a race to kill him fast.
My eyes are open.
Okay, so I wish I had one more mana, but we'll put out the Sunwalker. Next turn's play is going to be the Chillwind Yeti and the Defender of Argus. This turn we're going to take out his board. Oh wow, okay. Yep. Standard trick. Okay, perfect. So, since we're behind a taunt, Ragnaros does seem like a nice option here. We're going to leave this until he deals with himself. The likelihood is we'll kill a giant this way. Perfect. Okay. So I wonder if he's going to suicide the giant into Rag here. No, he's actually going to go right for my face. Okay. Now we can mitigate this by suiciding Rag into the giant. And we can also Defender of Argus that, so that he lives. And I think that that is exactly what we're going to do.
I must safeguard the land.
We're going to silence Ragnaros. And then we will Defender of Argus.
My shield for Argus.
And we're just going to push forward here. Okay, yeah. It's a weird day when you can Mortal Coil a Ragnaros. Power Overwhelming on the Owl to take out the taunt. He's strong. Oh, he's going to Shadow Flame instead. Okay. So I think the obvious pick here is Ysera. It's unfortunate that we don't have something that is 3 mana instead of 4. But that's okay. Hopefully we get Ysera Awakens at some point. Hopefully he doesn't kill this right away. Ysera Awakens would basically mean that we likely win.
I bring life.
Okay, so the Alexstrasza has saved him a little bit here. But we still have a very strong group of plays. Now we could innervate out everything. If we were to swipe Alexstrasza, we could actually trade away. And I think that's actually not a bad idea. We'll still keep Ysera alive, even if only for 1 turn. And we efficiently use Innervate in a way that we basically won't any other way.
I shall bring you rest.
Okay, Nightmare. It's an excellent card. That will win us the game if he doesn't clear the whole board, essentially. As long as he leaves me with exactly... if he has 2 creatures, if he leaves me with 2 creatures on the board, or actually in this case now, none. The Defender of Argus would, oh, okay.
Shields up.
Okay, Sunfury Protectors, that's fine. So, we'll clear this. So, I'm going to heal myself with the Earthen Ring, Farseer. We will trade away like this. And take this out, and we'll take out our Protectors as well.
I shall bring you rest.
Now, Ysera will die this turn, but that's okay. Ysera Awakens is something that we have now, so the likelihood that we can win is very high. Ysera Awakens might be dangerous depending on what he can do to me this turn, though.
My eyes are open.
My shield for Argus.
Okay, that was the right play. That actually may have saved him the game. But it also may not have. So, let's see here. Let's kill this. So if we Nightmare this, it becomes 8. Yep, no, we win.
Well played.
We could have done it with Hero Power, we could do it in style. So, that was closer than we would have liked, but by the same token, we actually did have a lot of control there. You saw how very quickly we got rid of the Giants, and even though this deck isn't especially built to beat Handlocks, it actually is very good at removing very big minions like that. Usually they don't pose much of a problem to us.
Malfurion versus Gul'dan.
Your soul shall be
Okay, so
mine.
another Warlock.
I must protect the wild.
So again, we don't know what he has. We're not going to keep the Defender, and certainly not Ysera. Wrath is a good strong card to have at the beginning. And I think I'm okay with keeping the Yeti, even though it's usually 4 is usually too much for me. Usually I like to mulligan for less, but we have the coin, so I think we have a good chance here. Anyway, so I think we're going to keep it just like this. Hopefully we get a Wild Growth or an Innervate. Okay. So the Earthen Ring Farseer is not terrible. He's a play that we can do next turn. Now, he didn't have a turn 1 play, which says to me he's a Handlock. This says to me he's absolutely a Handlock, just like last game, so that means that we will probably end up being a little bit more on the side of...
For the wild.
We'll be a little bit slower here. We're going to coin out a Yeti as opposed to coining out the Earthen Ring Farseer, because the health might well be necessary. And again, it's great that we have a keeper in the hand, because the likelihood is that turn 4 means Twilight Drake. If he's life tapping this aggressively. Oh, Mountain Giant, okay. So that's a little bit more troublesome. We can take it out though with the Yeti and Swipe. Normally, that's something that I would like to not do, but in this instance, I don't have a lot of better plays. We could Harvest Golem to have another creature on the table, and hope that he doesn't trade. But him taunting that up, well, him taunting that up is actually irrelevant, because of the Swipe and the Yeti. So actually, I think we are going to go for the riskier play. Okay, so we will trade. Alright, so we're in not the greatest place. We can put out the Keeper, and the Keeper and the Harvest Golem will get rid of this guy. Unfortunately, though, it will not get rid of the other one. We could Druid of the Claw here to give ourselves a little bit of staying power.
I wonder.
And I think probably that's the right way to go.
Where shall I strike?
My shield for Argus.
Okay, so that's the Nightmare play. Just need a max value out of that giant. So he's quite interested here in clearing my board. That's interesting. I mean, he is a Warlock control, so I suppose that's his modus operandi. So here we could swipe the big one, and that kills this one as well. And in fact, swiping the big one actually kills them both because of Wrath. So that is exactly what we will do.
Job done.
So we're behind as far as tempo is concerned, but at the very least we don't have two 9/9 giants facing us, or a 9/7 and a 9/1. Okay, so the Keeper of the Grove will be going down this turn. And guess we'll do that
I
with...
must safeguard the land.
We can do it with the Harvest Golem or the Earthen Ring. I think we'll do it with the Harvest Golem, actually. That said, we could also Hero Power to kill the 4/1, and I think we will do
For
that.
the wild.
I'm okay with being a bit more controlling right now, because he is being very controlling, and 2 of his major damage cards are off the table. He still has Molten Giants, one of which he could play this turn, but I think that we're okay for the moment. Next turn could very well be Argus. This is going to be a Sun Fury... Oh no, okay, he's just going to set up the board for a Sun Fury Protector, as opposed to actually having one. Okay, so we could do a Earthen Ring Farseer here, followed by a Defender of Argus. Mana inefficient, but nonetheless not a bad choice. We could also do Earthen Ring Farseer, Harvest Golem, and Mark of the Wild.
I wonder.
And we could just do the Azure Drake and the Earthen Ring Farseer. I think it'll be better to do the Azure Drake a little bit later, so we're going to do this, and we're going to Defender of Argus. Well, I say that. I like the idea of Mark of the Wild here. And next turn we can Defender of Argus the Azure Drake. So we will just Mark of the Wild. And I think we'll Mark of the Wild, the Harvest Golem.
I wait for no one. Nature's wrath.
Reason being that it has second highest health on the board there, and also it will regenerate, and I won't lose any creatures by them killing it. Okay, he's going to silence the Harvest Golem. And Shadow Flame the Gem. Oh, Shadow Flame the Ancient Watcher, of course. That makes sense. Okay, so we will, of course, do our plan for the Azure Drake and the Defender. Presumably, yep. Next turn is going to be the Health and Cards. Could also be Health and Health, but I think that we will opt for Health and Cards. Okay, so we'll take it out with the Owl.
My shield for
Okay, so this is going to be sort of difficult to surmount here. The Keeper of the Grove might be good here, but, okay, the Mark of the Wild. So, I think we have to... I don't want to use the Ancient of Lore's healing abilities, because I'd really like the cards. That said, though, I have cards here, in this form, because now we're at max mana. And I think that having a big, strong taunt is probably more important. So I think what we're going to do is trade here, put the Ancient of Lore out for the health, regrettably, and Mark of the Wild. This has been a bit of a tough game because... Oh, no, he's got... yeah, okay, he's got lethal there, clearly. Yeah. So that was a tough game because we got no Innervates, and we also got no Wild Growths at any point in the game. Our first one was right at the very end. And so it's understandable that we would have lost that one. Usually against Handlocks, I don't tend to have a lot of problems, unless I don't have any of my mana increasing cards. So, sort of those two matches back-to-back show you how we can beat Handlocks, and then how we can lose against them as well. Okay, and so we have another mirror match to round us out here. I think this is probably going to be the last one.
Will rise against you.
Okay, so against another Druid, we usually like to keep Wrath. We're going to get rid of the other things, though. Okay. So, perfect. We will Wild Growth next turn. Unless, of course, he puts something out that necessitates a Wrath. Could coin out Innervate a Yeti here. Oh no, we're going to do Nap Eagle. Okay, so we're not going to use Wrath. We are going to use the Wild Growth. And he's lucky enough to have gotten one. Next turn we'll put out the Yeti. And the turn after that we can do Harvest Golem and Wrath. Coin Pagel is a very strong play, especially in this case where he's gotten 2 cards out of it. more than gotten its value. You rarely see Pagel on the ladder these days. I've not seen him in a while. Okay. So we could do a Druid of the Claw in charge form, and I think that I prefer that to the Wrath hero power here because it's minions on the table. Next turn will be double Harvest Golem, assumedly. No, actually I think it's going to be Sunwalker. The double Harvest Golem is tempting, but because they're so modular, you can be mana efficient with them some other time. I think we're going to do this. Okay. So we can now Wrath his Yeti. We could also Ancient of Lore for cards instead. I do like how mana efficient that is. But by the same token, we could do... we could get another card this way and still be mana efficient. And I don't want to trade my Druid Claw right away. Now I probably should have waited until I got that card, of course, to play, but that's okay. Worked out in the end. That wouldn't have changed my play. Next turn will be Ragnaros if he doesn't do something weird, and then we can follow it up with an Ancient of Lore hero power.
Where shall I strike?
Okay, I still think we're going to do Rag. Yeah, no, I think that's the good option. I'm not going to trade both of my creatures. Hopefully, this hits the Druid of the Claw, but either way is fine. Yep, that's unfortunate, but still, I have a very strong board for him to have to clear out. Okay, so we have another taunt here. Okay, so, how best to do this? So we're almost at the magical point where we could do Ancient of Lore and Azure Drake in the same turn, but we're not going to do that. We're going to use the Harvest Golem to take this out, I think. And then I think Ancient of Lore is a good choice. I think we're going to do this for the cards. Now, this gives us a lot of options, actually. We could do a double Innervate Azure Drake. We could do a... it's very rare that Innervates are going to be useful at this point, so I'm actually okay to use them both, even if it is slightly inefficient. I could also be efficient and put out the Harvest Golem and the Earthen Ring Farseer, and I actually like that plan best, I think. Now we have a very big board, which Swipe will not help against. Oh, okay, and now he has 1 health. He may well... Oh, he doesn't have the mana for Swipe. That's unfortunate. Oh, now he does. Oh, a Starfall, okay. That'll do it. So now he can trade both of his creatures for the Rag. But he won't. Okay. So we're going to... I think what we're going to do is Azure Drake and see what we get. Okay, and actually, we win. I could have missed lethal there, but I'm not going to.
For the wild.
I'm bad for missing lethal. I'm often so concerned about what's on the board that I forget about what's going on outside of it. Anyway, regardless, we just went... we very thoroughly won that game. We finished with above 30 health, if you count the armor. And that's a pretty standard Druid as well. So, in a mirror matchup, this deck basically, I've not ever had trouble with other druids before. Okay, so our final game is up against a warlock called Google Plus, amusingly enough.
I must protect the wild.
Okay, so we have an extra card and Innervate. We're certainly going to get rid of that. We're going to keep Wrath. I am almost tempted to keep the Sunwalker, but I think I'm not going to, just because there are other things in the deck that we can use. Yep, the Azure Drake is good. If we were to get Wild Growth, I would be much happier with that. But
Why do you call?
okay. Okay, Ysera. So we could coin out a Wrath and just immediately kill that, but I think we're gonna wait. Yeah, and I think we are going to... this is tough. We don't really have a good follow-up play to the Azure Drake. We have... we don't have any 3s, essentially. But I think we will do it for the card, and just because it's a nice minion to have on the table at this point. No, and we have our 3.
We must cleanse the Sunwell.
Oh, and he's actually going to Soulfire the Drake. Wow. So the fact that he has a Defender of Argus in there, I mean, it doesn't really say anything. But it does look like a... It actually sort of looks just like a beefy deck. You don't tend to see a Handlock carrying the cards that he's got, even though the Defender is usually a Handlock card. Perhaps this is a sort of a mid-rangey Warlock. Or maybe it's actually the Zoo, and I just didn't recognize it because it didn't open up Flame Shield Bearer. So we could put out the Yeti, but I think we're actually going to trade. Yeah, I think we want to control this. So we're going to kill the... Let's kill the Direwolf. That's just going to be a pain in the ass all game.
For the wild. Job done.
Next turn, though, it will be inefficient. We could Keeper of the Grove to kill that 3/2.
For the crusade!
The light protects me.
Okay, we could also swipe this, which would be neat at, it'd be nice and effective at taking out the Divine Shields. And we could Druid of the Claw. We have a lot of options here. I think Keeper of the Grove is probably off the table. It would be nice and easy to kill this, but it will always be nice and easy to kill this. I think the best thing to do here is the Druid of the Claw.
Shall I strike?
The other thing about keeping the Keeper in here is that on the off chance he's running a Blood Knight, which is not something you see in Warlock decks, it's a very easy silence.
You call that
Okay, so he set himself up for a swipe, which is sort of what I was hoping. Hopefully the Priestess buffs the 3/2. Oh, okay, it's unfortunate. So, yeah, I think we're going to swipe here. And we will Hero Power to get rid of the 3/1. So now we have a lot of card advantage. Can't quite say we're stabilized just yet, but we're pretty close. Another turn or two and we'll bring it back. Next turn we can have a Yeti with the Mark of the Wild, which is a very, very strong, 6 mana, 6/7. It's basically an Ogre with Taunt. Oh, and the Doomguard. Okay. This is going to be a bit tight. We will do the... yeah, I think we're going to do the 6/7 Taunt. The only other option we have is to heal, which will immediately be negated by the Doomguard. So we will do this instead. Now, if he doesn't draw any cards, he will have to trade all of his minions to get rid of that Yeti. Even a Soulfire won't help, he'll need to trade the Doomguard. Power Overwhelming will help. But actually still won't do it. Okay, there's the Soulfire. Okay, So some sort of a taunt would be good. Keeper of the Grove is not that thing. Yeah, our best bet here is going to have to be healing, unfortunately. He's used both of his Soulfires, so he probably only has what's on the board. If he happens to top deck his other Doomguard, then we lose. But we might have a chance here. If we get a Defender of Argus or a Sunwalker or something, we just win. Oh, he did have a Blood Knight in there. Interesting choice. Oh, he's actually going to trade. Okay, so Keeper of the Grove will kill that. And I guess we're going to do 2 Keeper of the Groves, and we're going to kill both the Doomguard and the Flame Imp.
I must safeguard the land.
The only other option is we could kill the Voidwalker, but the Flame Imp is obviously more threatening when we have such little health.
Put this apple on your head.
Okay. So this is dangerous. We don't have our we don't have a taunt or anything. So in actual fact, we don't lose, but we are close to losing. Yep.
Feel nature's wrath for the wild. Feel nature's
The likelihood here is that we've lost. But if Rag kills the Blood Knight, our chances are higher. Otherwise, if he has 2 damage, we lose. Okay, so we do have a better chance now. We still have a low chance. I mean, a Doomguard will do it, Leroy will do it. Any number of things will do it. Argent Commander, and what else? Power Overwhelming. Yep. So unfortunately we couldn't stabilize in time against that, but that's okay. So, not bad. Unfortunately we lost the last game. Should have quit while we were ahead. But, nonetheless, you see the strengths of this deck. It is quite strong. As I said before, in the overview video, essentially, we've gone from, in using this Ramp Druid, I've gone from rank 17 up to now rank 9 in extremely short order. I don't know if it is competitive up at the extremely high levels, but essentially, it has been extremely good in serving its purpose of ranking up very fast. And in that regard, in that endeavor, it does great. So if you are somebody who is a middling rank player, somewhere in the sort of mid to late teens, that sort of place, this is a great thing to bring you right back out of there and into the top 10. So, thanks so much for watching, guys, and if you liked it, like and subscribe for more deck content, deck spotlights, as well as arena and other content like that. And I'll see you guys next time.